And away we go. That's right. Denver Broncos undefeated in the preseason, beating the Arizona Cardinals 38-12 is the final score. I am Cecil Lammey here to talk about it and what it means and who's going to make the team and all those sorts of things. Broncos fans, how you feeling now? You should be feeling pretty good about your squad because, well, they couldn't stop scoring and they couldn't stop making it happen. So I'm going to take your questions in the chat room tonight. I'm going to respond to the game. I'm going to tell you about the tough decisions I think the Broncos have coming up. Also going to be exploring some of the things I'll be writing about for denversports.com, not only in my 3 observations for this game, because the score doesn't matter, although it was nice. It's the play of the individual players, the battles at positions. How many are you going to keep? You're going to keep 3 quarterbacks. That seems obvious right now. Also, be writing Mile High Monday tonight. That'll be out tomorrow. Denversports.com is where you check that out. So come join me here in the chat room and we will chop it up because the Denver Broncos 3-0 in the preseason, 38-12 is the final score over the Arizona Cardinals. And like I said, they couldn't stop scoring, whether it was offensive scores, defensive scores, tons of tough decisions. But it starts out with a tough sight that you see out there when Deari Matthysse is, kind of carted off on the field. Now, the latest reports that I saw from Mike Kliss and others were like, okay, it's not believed to be serious based on x-rays, but for someone who's battling with Riley Moss for that starting cornerback position opposite of Pat Surtain, it's a concern for the Denver Broncos. And as I've said on 104 Through the Fan and right here on Orange and Blue today on our YouTube channel, I've said the secondary depth is a concern. Everyone in the secondary, not named Pat Surtain, is a concern. The guys behind the starters are a concern. So losing one of those guys potentially to begin the season, again, we'll see what happens here when it comes to the Deari Matthysse injury, but that's not what you want to see. What you want to see is points. What you want to see is quality play and a team coming together. I think that's a lot of what people were saying on Twitter about how this looks like a team. This looks like a cohesive unit, and I tend to agree with that there as well. So the Broncos get the big win. It's not even close. Some good, some bad, mostly good tonight, and we'll go over it all here with you. So jump in the chat room, and I will see you there. Human person, Zach freaking Wilson. I think he gets a freaking yet, right? Right? That's reserved for like PFM. But Zach Wilson tonight, 16-25, 250 yards, 251, 2 touchdowns, no INTs, also a big 21-yard run and a touchdown run. So Zach Wilson making plays there on the ground with his arm. Jarrett Stidham came in, immediately moved the ball for the team, but went 2 of 4, 28 yards, no touchdowns, no INTs, no sacks. Zach Wilson was sacked 4 times. I think twice it was on blockers, or rushers that got by Frank Crum. I think someone asked me on Twitter, like, what do you think of Frank Crum? Super athletic, super raw. So put him on the practice squad. Let's circle back in a year. Again, not here to crush anybody. Like, there's guys that are going to make the team. There's guys going to make this really, really hard on the team. Lavelle Bailey, who's been having a really good training camp quietly, a couple of quiet guys that in my eyes didn't get enough of the talk, because I understand a lot of the talk is going to revolve around Bo Nix and Jarrett Stidham and Zach Wilson. And that's what all of us did in both YouTube and sports talk radio. But there were drum beats, right? With Dondre Tillman. There were drum beats with Lavelle Bailey, Keidron Smith. Like, there were already drum beats with these guys outside of the preseason game. Smith specifically in every preseason game. That's all he does is make plays. Human person says 17-0. There you go. Yeah, so there, that's what it's going to be right now. 3-0 in the preseason. Again, results don't matter. It's the performance on the field. And now, if you're the Broncos, you got a lot of tough decisions, and I'm just getting started on it. But Zach Wilson and his performance, you're going to keep 3 quarterbacks. And some people have said, and I believe, was it Cody Rourke that had it on Twitter? It was like, hey, this is very Albert O like, this Zach Wilson thing. Yeah, but Albert O didn't need the football rehab that Zach Wilson does. So while anything can happen and anything is possible, and someone could pick up the phone and call the Denver Broncos and say, what does it take for us to get Zach Wilson? That's a possibility. Is it a probability? I don't necessarily think so. But again, everything's on the table right now. Got a lot of questions. I think Gage was texting me before the game. Gage, I was doing a fantasy draft. Sorry. Some things take priority. And I apologize for not texting back. But what's up with Samaje Perine? You don't want to get him hurt? Because you're going to owe him a bunch of money and you'll see if you can trade him. But with the performance of Audric Estime, again, so much to get to tonight. I don't think Blake Watson makes the 53. That's practice squad. Tyler Beatty should make the practice squad. But Jaleel, Javonte, Estime, those are your three backs. Keeping Michael Burton. I know our own Josh Dover hates fullbacks, but it's like, sorry, Shawn Payton loves him. So you're keeping that guy. And Tyler brings up the most important point here, in my opinion. Hungry, young, and I'll add in humble players as well. And that's what makes this Broncos team a dangerous team. They're not going to the Super Bowl. We can all say that. We can all admit that. But they can be better. I'm not saying playoffs, but if they wound up in the playoffs, it wouldn't surprise me. Why? Because they don't know they're not supposed to be good. And this is what happens across the league with young teams, most of the time with young quarterbacks that just come in and then there's like, they're competitive. They're really good. They're well coached. Shawn Payton, obviously one of the top coaches in the league. So they'll be a well-coached team. They're young, hungry, and humble. And they don't know they're not supposed to do this yet. They don't know they're not supposed to succeed. They don't know they can't make that comeback yet. And then they can. And then they build confidence. And that's what can be dangerous in this league. And it's always kind of funny to me that in a league made up of alpha males, certainly no betas in the NFL, alpha males. If the guy's not confident, he's not going to make it. Even if he is a super alpha, supremely gifted athlete, it doesn't matter. You got to be confident. And sometimes you have to just be confident when there's not a reason yet to be confident, or just be excited to play. I think that's where this youth comes in. My man Coco says Broncos looking good today. That's right. Let's carry that momentum over to the regular season. DMC, the freaking Catalina wine mixer. I'll take that. I'll accept that. No freaking for Zach Wilson, but freaking Catalina wine mixer. That would be great. That would be great for me. Wes saying Wilson is QB2. I saw this suggestion on social networking, and it was make the second quarterback matchup based. So let me pull out my handy dandy schedule that I have right here with Andrew Mason and I's predictions for the season. Let's say you're facing a team that offensively is going to struggle, Pittsburgh. Jarrett Stidham would be my backup in that game, because God forbid something happens to Bo Nix, Stidham's going to run the ship and he's not going to, sink everything and all those sorts of things. If you're facing someone a little more high powered, let's say Baltimore in week 9, Kansas City on the road week 10, maybe you would turn to a Zach Wilson as your primary backup in those instances. So there is certainly an opportunity for Wilson to be the primary backup at some point. He's certainly on this roster unless someone's dazzled by what he did and then, puts out an offer for the Broncos. What would you take? I don't know. It's a day 3 pick. You're not getting anything ridiculous for Zach Wilson. So there'll be no fancy about they get a 3rd rounder. No, you get a 6th or whatever. But is that even enough in a league where 60 plus quarterbacks played last year, in a league where 14 teams had 3 quarterbacks? Is that even enough? My answer is no. So you keep 3 and you make tough cuts at other spots. You make it. And Johnny says, preach it. Preach. Church. I'm going to do it, Johnny, on tonight's program. And it'll take you up about an hour. So I got 50 minutes left. Keep your comments coming. I'll kind of do a brain dump after the game like I do. I won't lose my mind. 1, because they won, and 2, because they look good. That's for the regular season post-game shows. I'll try not to make myself sick. But that comes with good play from the Broncos. And we've had good play from the Broncos in this preseason. And that's really good. Roger, it's going to be tough to cut some of the wide receivers in this room. Wow. I mean, okay. Brandon Johnson, love him. 2 for 83 and a touchdown. He's proven in the regular season, he's proven to have skills to be on your roster, to make plays, to be a trusted target. I don't know how he makes the 53. I don't know if you can sneak him through to the practice squad because, as I've said multiple times, like if I'm another team, I just look at what the Broncos aren't going to keep at certain positions. What's interesting about the Broncos is that some positions like wide receiver are like, oh my God, they got like 8 guys and you're going to keep 6. They might have 9 guys. But it's like, if I'm a team, I'm just, who's Denver cutting? Okay, now wide receiver. And wide receivers are more plentiful around the league. Believe it or not, there's plenty of teams that are going to have this problem with reserve receivers like a Brandon Johnson that aren't going to make the 53 and are likely to be stashed on teams' practice squad. There's some stealing. I think of Todd Davis, right? When the Saints try to sneak him through, and Shawn Payton's even talked about this, and the Broncos scoop up Todd Davis. What a great player for the Broncos, and a good guy too. I love Todd. But so there's some stealing in the practice squad here after the preseason, but there's also just some like you're protecting your own. You're hoping that nobody else jumps in, and you're hoping that nobody else like takes your guys. So there's both. There's both the thievery and there's both the like, hey, we're keeping all our guys, you're keeping all your guys, okay? Not everybody abides by that, but that does happen there as well. So at the wide receiver spot, I know the Troy Franklin thing. I don't, want to make it necessarily about Troy Franklin, although he was out there tonight to catch for 21 yards, 1 target for Franklin, and also a carry for 9 yards. It worked good on the end around. Franklin's making the team. Some have discussed whether that should happen or not. He's making the team. Marvin Mims, you would have that discussion. He has not looked good in training camp. He has struggled. He has yelled at coaches. He's thrown his helmet. Like, there's all these things with Marvin Mims that haven't been good. I still give him a year. I give Marvin Mims another year. You want to see him take those steps that he has not taken yet, but you want to see him get better as a route runner specifically because he leans. That's the main thing with Marvin. Again, when you do one-on-ones, I don't give a crap if it's like Jarrett Stidham went 4 for 4 and blah, blah, blah. Like, no. Are you running routes? Because that drill specifically one-on-ones is set up for the receiver to make the plays. So with Mims, he'll do this. You'll never guess which way I'm going. Like, that's what he does in his route, and the smartest corners are going to recognize that. And even reserve corners have recognized that like Marvin's going to lean. So it's not in terms of rounding out routes. He seemed to have made that a little bit better. So it's like crisper cuts, but you're also like leaning before you cut. You can't tip. You have to make everything look the same. Marvin can't do that yet. He just can't. Nicest guy ever, whatever I have to say. He's going to make the team, though. So there's 2. Tim Patrick, Cortland Sutton, Josh Reynolds, Devon Vele. There's 6. So Brandon Johnson, I'm sorry. Jalen Virgil, I like him as a returner. I don't, I'll bring up the name I'm not supposed to mention anymore, but like, I don't think they ever should have drafted Montrell Washington. That was a terrible pick. I hope he has all the world success in Kansas City if he makes the team. But it's like, Jalen Virgil was always a great returner at App State. He was the guy, and he's a better receiver. He has no shot at making this team. Michael Bandy making plays out there. He has no shot at making the 53. David Sills made plays almost every day in training camp. David Sills was always reliable and no chance of making the 53. How many receivers are you going to keep on the practice squad? You're going to keep little Jordan Humphrey on the practice squad. You're going to keep Michael Bandy, maybe not David Sills. Like and this is what I feel bad. This is why I don't want to crush any kids tonight, is because it's like some dreams may just be over. And that sucks for these guys who can make plays. The player that I don't think did much in camp to help himself out at all was Philip Dorsett, and he's not making the team. So, but he wasn't like a David Sills. He wasn't like a Michael Bandy. You know, these guys that are Jalen Virgil making plays, Brandon Johnson making plays. You never saw that from Philip Dorsett. So that's an easy cut. But like some of these other guys, like you're going to cut them and then you don't even know if you can keep them on the practice squad because, I mean, what, are you going to have a bunch of receivers on your practice squad? Maybe, but you've got other positions to concern yourself with. And we'll see what the Broncos do at receiver. That's going to be a tough one. That's for sure. That guy, Jay, that one guy, Jay, well-coached team, good operation. Yeah, Shawn Payton's going to coach them up for all the, they won't win 5 games. Well, it's just Shawn Payton, well-coached team. They won't be as healthy as they were last year. Unfortunately, that's just the name of the game. But it's Shawn Payton team. You better put the number at 7 and see where they can go from there. Can they steal a couple they're not supposed to? Again, I have them at 9. Wherever my handy dandy sheet went. There it is right here. I have them at 9. Might want to hold on to this. 9 and 8. I think that's a possibility. But put the number at 7. It's Shawn Payton. Hollywood asking, do they find room for Johnson? No. Blue Mountain Jamboree. I may have brought him up on Orange and Blue today. If you're a regular viewer, first off, thank you. Now about 54% of you that watch are subscribed. So a lot of people do listen to like, comment, share, subscribe, hit the notification bell so that you never miss a vid. So it was about 48%. That's jumped to 54% now with football season climbing in closely. So we appreciate that. But if you're still one of those 46%, don't make me do math. Please subscribe. But I brought up Jordan Jackson in passing. And this is the thing about like algorithm and not necessarily clickbait, but it's like I would have gladly done a 30-minute show on Jordan Jackson and Lavelle Bailey. And Mace and I could have easily done that. But the algorithm, you ain't searching for Jordan Jackson out there on YouTube. You're searching for Bo Nix, Denver Broncos. Let's go, Bo. I get it. I understand it. But I also want everyone to recognize Blue Mountain Jamboree is correct. Lights out. And he's been doing that in practice. The pit specifically. So I talked about one-on-ones with quarterback and wide receiver. And I think taking stats during one-on-ones is folly. That's just the way I watch practice. Again, I'm looking at technique. I'm looking at how do you have proper hand snatch? Do you reach away from your body? Do you grab the ball? Do you rip it out of the air? Can a defender be draped over you? Can you still make that catch? I'm watching your route. I'm watching your technique. Are you counting steps? Are you pointing at his hip? If you're a defender, are you using proper leverage? What happens when he uses his leverage against you? Do you battle back? Do you counter that? So it's almost in a way like a pass rush, a route compared to the leverage of the corner. There's a pass rush involved. There's movement involved. This is much more fascinating to me than Jarrett Stidham was 4 for 4 in 7-on-7s. That doesn't matter. Or 1-on-1s. That doesn't matter. The pit, which I think is the greatest drill in all of football, in all of football practices. It's one-on-one offensive line versus defensive line. Jackson, one of the last day they had pads, and correct me if I'm wrong, that was Wednesday, I believe. Or Thursday. Because Wednesday there was a lighter day. Thursday was pads, and then Friday was a lighter day. The memory is hazy. Seen a lot of football and ready for the regular season, for the love of God. But I want everyone to know Jordan Jackson was a problem in the pit. He was having good days. So this is, yes, lights out today. I'm going to stand on top of that or add an extra layer of like, he's been doing it in practice too. And I don't know if he's going to make the team. Talented guy like Elijah Garcia, he might not make the team. Jordan Jackson, super talented, throw him on the practice squad and then pray that somebody doesn't take him. Dondre Tillman, he's been making plays. Lavelle Bailey, like I said, he's been making plays. So there's all these players in practice that when you watch practice, again, not just to the numbers, like that doesn't matter. It's practice. Watch technique. I can tell you Jackson has the technique of a quality defensive lineman. So does Blackson, who's made plays as a run defender. He's a veteran guy, so, we'll see if he can make the 53. But these young guys, like a Jackson, like a Lavelle Bailey, these players are using their athleticism and sharpening it with proper coaching and technique. And that's when things can become really, really special for these young players. But a guy like Jackson, I don't know if he makes the team. And that's what sucks about this game. I mean, not every third preseason game, and used to be fourth preseason game. Sometimes these games are like super boring. Who cares? You already can make the 53, and most of us already probably can make the 53. But this game just revealed how much talent and how wrong ESPN was, or how wrong Pro Football Focus was. And I have friends that work for both. So this isn't, I know, like my man Stink, Mark Schler. It's big news there, huh? Maybe more big news coming. But like Stink hates Pro Football Focus. I don't hate Pro Football Focus. Zach Robinson used to work for Pro Football Focus. So they've got coaches, and Robinson's going to be a head coach pretty soon. He's OC of the Atlanta Falcons right now. Anyway, like, I don't hate PFF, but when people that aren't here grade the Broncos roster and they're like, they're the worst team ever, that's wrong. It's wrong-headed. It's not accurate. And I think this game and the performance that the Denver Broncos had today kind of shows that they do have way more talent. So much talent that at certain positions, like wide receiver, like defensive line, like edge rusher, I'll get to those guys in a little bit. You got problems, man. You got big time problems. LaVell Bailey, how are you going to keep him? All he's done is make plays. Keidron Smith is daring you to cut him. There ain't no way you're going to cut this guy. Well, how do you make room for him? Like, who's destined for the practice squad if you can sneak him through? Very, very, very tough decisions. Tyler asking about the Samaje situation. I may have touched on it earlier. Sorry. We're only 20 minutes in and I've totally forgotten what I've said. Call Houston, call Cincinnati. You don't want him to get hurt. I don't believe they keep 4 running backs and a fullback, especially because they are keeping 3 quarterbacks, unless someone blows you away with the Zach Wilson thing. Like, we're fixing to find out, and in 2 days we're going to know. Maybe even tomorrow we'll know about Samaje Perine. Did the Bengals trade for him, to get him back? There's conversation. Bengals fans are certainly conversing about that, bringing him back because of the injury they had. Chris Evans, Michigan kid, got banged up. So you got Zach Moss there to maybe be the lead back. We'll see about that. More from the chat room. And thank you, Roy, for commenting. Did Zach Wilson do enough? Again, I think you rotate, if it's a safer team, a lower scoring team, a team that you're probably going to beat, you have Jarrett Stidham. And if not, your QB2 can easily be Zach Wilson. And I think that can change on a weekly basis. And I think that's just part of the gamesmanship. Brad D, thank goodness the preseason is in the rear view, right? I have an interview with Baron Browning, an exclusive one-on-one that is coming to our social networking platforms here tonight when I get done with the show and writing 2 articles. In that interview, one of the first things I asked Baron was like, kind of glad to be done with preseason, because I am, as a football nerd and a football junkie and someone who eats this stuff up. I'm just like, can we fast forward? Can we just get the regular season here? That would be nice. So yeah, it is good to get the preseason done. McMillan, not a concern. Yeah, you've got some players out there. McMillan in the slot, he's not a concern. So I will amend what I've said, Darren. Thank you for bringing that up. Pat Surtain and Jaquan McMillan. Other than that, I have question marks. Riley Moss, question marks. Deari Matthysse, well, how's the ankle? Question marks. Like everybody. Chris Abrams Drain, question mark. Keidron Smith, maybe less question marks. Maybe he should be on that list as well, because he just shows up, balls out. Ordell, what's up, dude? Yes, Roy, bringing this up. Penalties a big concern. Forsyth, Sherman, Crum, big concerns. Edges are a big concern. On the offensive line, to be sure. I'll get to the edge on the defense, where I had tweeted out, like, I really like watching Nick Bonito in combination with Jonah Ellis. I think that's a great young combination. They almost race themselves to the quarterback, which is really fun to watch. But then, like I said, guys like Tillman could make plays. Thomas Incoom on the play that Clayton Tune eluded his grasp. Thomas Incoom was one of my favorite UDFAs, might have been my favorite UDFA. And last year, in the last day that the locker room was open, Mason and I made a conscious decision of like, I want to talk to J.L. Skinner. I want to talk to Riley Moss. I want to talk to Thomas Incoom. I want to talk to these guys that were rookies that didn't play at all or much. And so in seeking out Thomas Incoom, he's got a ton of confidence. Again, super alphas, but they need confidence. Check. He's got confidence for sure. I think he still winds up on the practice squad because of that one play, Clayton Tune. He's unblocked right to him. And Incoom has closing speed. He has burst to the quarterback. He's got a good wingspan, so he can kind of gather in those QBs when they're a little bit further away. And Clayton Tune, while athletic, it's Clayton Tune. And Thomas Incoom unblocked, and Tune was able to elude him, evade him. There were other plays, even against the run, where Thomas Incoom did a really good job finding the ball. He doesn't have a problem. It's not like he's one of these prima donna pass rushers who just like gets upfield and, oh my God, the play went away from me. Who cares? He doesn't do that. He hustles. I love Thomas Incoom for that. I don't know if he makes this team. And that's the problem, right? Like Thomas Incoom, I can give you plenty of positives that he has done. He had some ups and downs. He might have faded a little bit once the preseason games got here. In practice, he was balling out. Preseason games maybe could have asked for a little bit more. Well worth keeping around as a developmental prospect, but is it the 53? Was it 53 last year and didn't do anything? But you were protecting him because you knew people would steal him off your practice squad because they will steal him. Is he safe now? Have other teams seen Thomas Incoom be like, yeah, we like our guys better? Because that's where the protection comes from. You'll be able to protect players on the practice squad that maybe we think can't be protected, like a Thomas Incoom, if someone else, meaning 31 other teams, feel good about their position. Well, we got our guys. I mean, that guy's good. We kind of liked him before the draft, but we got our guys. So let's just kind of hang on to what we've got. That's how it goes in this league. Oh, Lavelle Bailey's from Edwards' alma mater. Good as advertised. There you go. I like that. So yeah, got to clean up the penalties. That's for sure. And let's go. Let's get to the regular season. Let's do this thing. And Keith, Zach making plays good and bad. Yeah, when he's throwing near pick sixes, like this is a compliment. So I want it to be taken as such, although it may not sound like one. But there's a lot of Jimmy Garoppolo to what Zach Wilson does, and I think that just may be there. I believe with better coaching, Zach Wilson can be better. Shawn Payton actually likes him, unlike Robert Saleh. So with better coaching, with a coach that likes you, with a better system that fits you, Zach Wilson can thrive-ish. But I believe, and this is what 49ers coaches have told me, is that Jimmy Garoppolo would run the system like 90% of the time. And then there's that 10% of the time where Jimmy G just does something boneheaded, and you just kind of have to live with that. It might come in the Super Bowl where he doesn't hit Emmanuel Sanders wide open to win the game. Like, okay, so that was bad. You probably didn't want to do that. But like 49ers coaches have told me, like Jimmy G's 90% of the time, he's going to be more than fine. 10% of the time, there's some bonehead play coming. And I feel that's what Zach Wilson could be, because we saw the good and the bad, as Keith says here in the chat room, of like, there's really good plays, making plays with his legs, and then he'll try to throw something off his back foot that could have easily been a pick six. Honestly, I think Lucas Kroll played a little bit of defense on that play. And that's for sure. Daniel bringing up something very important. Much better leadership. And the team has bought in. Wonderful. Wonderful. I'll quote Anthony Daniels as C3PO. Wonderful. I wholeheartedly agree with that. And they bought in a while ago. I go back to the Cortland Sutton post-game comments from the Colts game, where you could just tell the veterans have bought in. They know if they do what they're supposed to do, and Bo Nix does what he's supposed to do, they're young, hungry, and humble. And that can be dangerous in this league. But leadership is there. The coaching is there, to be sure, and the buy-in is there. You can't have it any other way. You can't have well-coached team, talented players, and the players just don't believe in the system or believe in the coach. But Payton, with his skins on the wall and his hardware, he's got a Super Bowl ring, wants another one. Players have bought into that, and you can see that, and that's very, very good. It's one of the reasons why we have that apparent now for the Denver Broncos. So, more stuff from the game. Again, Denver Broncos win 38-12. Score doesn't matter. Jarrett Stidham's make the team. Zach Wilson's make the team. Blake Watson probably not. 11 carries, 38 yards. Just couldn't punch it in. A long of 7. I do like Blake as a receiver as well. He's a converted wide receiver. And a Memphis back, you want a Memphis back around, whether that's Tony Pollard or Kenneth Gainwell or Antonio Gibson. You want a Memphis back because they can do everything. But Blake Watson kind of behind, coming into training camp hurt on the NFI list. So he's been behind. He's been a couple of weeks behind since he started because he started late and he missed time. Couldn't prepare the way he wanted to. He's a practice squad guy. You keep him around. And in a year, we'll talk more about Blake Watson. Loved him at the Shrine Bowl. There's your bong rip. But it's like, you know, you can be great at an all-star game and never do anything in the NFL. I'm not saying Blake Watson will never do anything, but, you know, he just needs more time. He's got to stay healthy, got to work on his ball security, you know, and then prove himself to this coaching staff because Tyler Beatty was much better. And Beatty's one of those guys like a David Sills, right? Like a Michael Bandy. Tyler Beatty's one of those players like all he does is make plays and he's no way making this team. Now, Beatty, I'm not going to blow you away. 10 carries, 32 yards. So you want a little more, you want to beef that up a little bit. Also 3 for 19 as a receiver. You honestly want to beef that up as well. Running back out of the backfield should be about 10 yards a catch. 9, maybe I'd accept 8. But if you can push that number towards double digits, that's better. 6.3, you know, that could be a little better. And remember, this is the final preseason game. So if your numbers are a little bit inflated, it would make sense because you're playing against guys that aren't going to make the league, that aren't even going to make practice squads. Like, this is it. This is it. So there you go. Daniel talking about the wide receivers. Yep. Pretty good backup play from most people, Matthew. So that's a good thing. The running back position, I think, is pretty easy to figure out other than Samaje. What's happening with Samaje? Like, who the hell knows? We're going to find out soon enough. Let me just put it this way. I'm not going to lose any sleep over Samaje Perine. Why didn't he play? Like, oh, God, just whatever. Cut him, keep him. Probably not keep him because it's so cramped. I would much rather keep Jalen Virgil, a little Jordan Humphrey, even though Perine is a trusted 2-minute back. It seems like, at least from practice, not this week, because I totally can't tell you what I saw this week, but it seems like from practice that Jaleel McLaughlin has taken that 2-minute role from Samaje Perine. So we'll see about that. And I like how guys were blocking out there. Something I did tweet about during the game is that you had guys like Kroll, Jalen Virgil, you know, just blocking their ass off for the Estime touchdown specifically. Audric Estime, you know, he was never in danger of losing his job, even though he's a day 3 pick. The coaches are excited about him. I think Broncos fans should be excited about him. I mean, you see what he can do and the way that he runs differently, because what's nice about Estime is there is power, but there's also decisiveness. Sometimes power guys, and Javonte gets this sometimes as well. We'll see if Javonte can be a little bit better. But sometimes power guys, you block it for 3, and they're like, where's something else? Sometimes when you block it for 3, you just got to lower your head and get the 3. If you're like TD, which is Hall of Fame, and Mark Schlereth would always say that, like, we'd block it for 3, TD'd get 5. So the really great ones, you'll block it for 3, and they'll somehow eke out a couple more. With Estime, what's great about him, because not all the holes were there. Not all the holes were on time. I generally like the way that Estime, you got to meet to and through the hole at the same time. Usually you do this with wide zone. You can with gap as well because the gap has to be there and it has to be at its largest moment. This is where football is beautiful, man, because it's geometry. It's, chess and this battle and it's ballet and it's geometry and it's like all these things wrapped into one. But if your hole is either closing and then your back's getting through, or your hole isn't quite open yet and your back's trying to go through, sometimes Julian McLaughlin has that problem where the hole is just, and it's like, whoa, whoa, hey, whoa, wait, just get a little, and then boom. With Estime, what's really nice is that he's decisive. He's powerful, but he's decisive. So he's going to see it. And if it's not there, he's just plugging his head and just boom. Hey, it's 3 yards this time. Let's fight another day. It's 3 yards this time. I'm gonna get him next time. That's the nice thing about Audric Estime. So it was good to see him out there making plays for the Broncos. And again, 5 for 18, 3.6 a carry, but the rushing touchdown. And Estime will be one of those guys. He's never going to break off a 60-yarder, 50-yarder. Yeah, 40-yarder could. But Estime will be one of those guys. It's like 8 yards, 3 yards, 2 yards, 12 yards, 8 yards, 3 yards, 40 yards. So with a full workload, I would have faith that Estime would push for a 20 carries, 80 yards, that type of number. Maybe even push for 100 yards with one of those big plays. So you see that there. Again, I don't think Blake Watson makes the 53. I'd like to see him on the practice squad. Tyler Beatty, don't think he makes the 53. Would like to see him on the practice squad. Estime, sure as shooting, is going to make the 53. As we move on, talked about the wide receivers, the tight ends. I mean, we pretty much know it's Greg Dulcich, it's Adam Troutman, and then Lucas Kroll, and then Nate Adkins. Nate Adkins with a touchdown today. Nate Adkins with 2 for 20. Lucas Kroll with 1 for 10. 3 targets to Kroll, but again, one of those was the play that he played defense on, basically. And the staff likes Lucas Kroll. Hell, they like Nate Adkins too. And because Nate Adkins can play H-back and fullback and tight end, and he can block, like there's a versatility, there's a chess piece there. Could Kroll land on the practice squad? Could they cut Lucas Kroll? Sure. And put him on the practice squad. Would he stay? Who knows? He already got stolen away from New Orleans. Would somebody like that look to pick him back up? Nate Adkins. Could you risk putting Nate Adkins on the practice squad? Yeah. Yeah, you could. I like Nate. Good enough. He's good. He's not going to be a Pro Bowler or anything, but like you need guys like Nate Adkins. We can't talk about all of these players and be like, well, that guy sucks because he's not going to make the Pro Bowl. No. That guy's a good role player. That's what Nate Adkins is. So like Adkins, practice squad, Kroll 53. I think I get some questions about Yasmin sometimes, like just throw him on the international program and just let him develop. He's super, super raw out there for the Broncos in practice. So, an offensive line wise, you've got some tackle concerns on this offensive line. So that's a question. Harry Plopper says Stidham to me equals Simeon. Fine as a backup, I guess. If you want to lose games, he starts. He is pretty safe. I would like a little something more from that. Somebody earlier was like, oh, that's enough with the Zach Wilson talk. Okay, sure. You'll be all right. Zach Wilson, he's fine-ish. It's not great. Whatever. Fezzi, to be honest, I feel like the room hasn't been this close in a long time. It feels and looks different. And that's where when I ask y'all at halftime, like, send me a gif of how you're feeling, and I still get the Hawkeye, like, don't give me hope. I should actually just get that gif and then put it up here on the show. But when people are like, don't give me hope. No. You can have hope. I'm not crazy. You can have hope. That's right, Mike. You can have hope for this team. So don't worry about don't give me hope. No. Bo Nix is the real deal. Shawn Payton's got these guys on the right track, and you can see it. Being undefeated in the preseason doesn't mean crap. The year that Detroit went 0-16, they were undefeated in the preseason. Correct me if I'm wrong. It was 4 games back then. I'm not saying the Broncos are going 0-17. I have them at 9 wins, 9-8 this year. But the wins in the preseason don't matter. But you can see the play. You can see the timing of the play. You can see the rhythm. You can see the ferocity with which this defense plays. You have concerns at tackle in depth. Behind your starters, wow, you got some trouble. Interior line, I feel a little bit better, especially if Alex Forsyth is like your swing guard this year. But you have some offensive line concerns. So Garrett Bowles, the mayor, Mike McGlinchey, please stay healthy. This team needs you to stay healthy. Y'all got any more than Broncos wins? Yeah. So there's concerns here. There's problems at certain positions. There's strength and way too much talent at other positions. Wes saying, I'm excited about this Broncos season more than I have been in a long time. And that's the perfect way to feel. Like you can be excited again. Again, they're not going to the Super Bowl. We all know that. Could they push for the playoffs? Could they be in that, when they bring up the graphic in December, like in the hunt? These teams have clinched a playoff berth. This team clinched the home field advantage throughout the playoffs, number 1 seed. And then, these teams are in the wild card. These teams are in the hunt. They could be wild card. The Broncos would be one of those teams in December. That should be your point this year. And I'm not one to accept failure. I'm not one to just say it's okay. Because as I've often said back in the old ESPN Denver days, you know what we do when the Broncos won the AFC West? We'd make fun of it. Oh, there. We're going to go to Sports Illustrated and get my AFC West hat again. Your Denver Broncos are AFC West champions. That's not the standard. Now, from what it's been, would you take a wild card? Hell yeah, of course. So it's layers to this. There's levels to things. And to expect them to be Super Bowl contenders right now, like that's just dumb. Don't be dumb. Don't be in a cult. My 2 rules of life. Thoughts, emotions, and actions. My 3 rules for life. But it's like, all right, so they're not going to the Super Bowl. What do you need to see? You need to see organization, leadership, talent. Check, check, and check. And because you have all of those things, that means you can be excited. You can have hope for the future because Bo in 2024 makes Bo in 2025 better. We are just seeing the very beginnings of Bo Nix, the very infant-like stages of his pro career. Maybe his ceiling is lower than Caleb Williams because Caleb is incredibly naturally talented. He wasn't my number 1 quarterback because honestly, I don't like the people around him. In a way, it's kind of like Kyler Murray when you have the helicopter parent and then they just kind of screw everything up for the coaching staff. And I don't really trust Matt Eberflus. Whatever, this isn't a Bears show, but like, so maybe Caleb, Jaden Daniels, my number 1 quarterback this year. Incredible, super high ceiling. Yeah, but he's not going to start at the same place Bo is because he's got to stay healthy and he's got to stop running into people. Even Dan Quinn did what's the one meme where the guy's like this? He's like a bald guy. He's like this. Dan Quinn did that because Jaden keeps running into people. Like, you're not going to survive that way, dude. You're going to be Robert Griffin III. So, where's the ceiling at for Bo Nix? He might be closer to it than others. Is Caleb Williams ceiling? Okay, yeah. I'm not even going to, that's not the discussion I want to have. The discussion I want to have is how much more can he grow? Because this is just the beginning. And it's exciting to think like he's already damn good. He's already ahead of where any other rookie I've seen in 20 years of covering this team, as I sound like Mike Evans. Like, he's already ahead. So what's he going to be next year? How far ahead is he going to be in his second year? Can he be the CJ Stroud? Yeah, of course. There are people making fun of the Texans last year for taking CJ Stroud. I wasn't one of those people. So yeah, let's see. Patience and excitement. Patience and excitement. Dragonheart, Jay Will getting traded, estimate time now. I know the Dallas Cowboys are sniffing around. There is a player they prefer that's not Javonte. So if you want to take that as a Lassie bark, so be it. but the Cowboys are a team. One, they need to pay CD. They haven't paid CD yet, have they? I'm going to check my phone. Like, did they pay CD? They got to pay CD. They maybe won't pay Dak. And again, it's not a Cowboys show, but just to tell you across the league, a team like Cincinnati would not be looking for Jay Will. Dallas would, but there's somebody else that they want. And that other person is not. I mean, Javonte is the number one running back in Denver. The back that the Cowboys fancy is not the number one with his team, but he'd be the number one in Dallas because it's Ezekiel Elliott, who's 100 years old, and Rico Dowdle, who's, is okay. He's okay. Keith is like, the Cardinals might be interested. Hey, we've seen that before, right? We've seen it before. So there you have. Team is getting young and exciting, and that's the thing. Like, again, the points, my buddy Jeff, shout out Jeff. I'm going to timestamp this, Jeff. My buddy Jeff, he was at the game with his son. You guys saw a hell of a game. Like, it's a fun game. It's a preseason game. It's a fun game. So there you go. And you get to see that excitement. And now it's time for the tough cuts. It's time for... Why is Carrie saying hi to other people before she says hi to me? I'm your brother, damn it. I'm a little feisty tonight. Not much feisty. I'm in cruise mode, man. Let's get to the regular season. We got 2 weeks. Please, can we fast forward, please? 2 weeks. 2 weeks. Like, get to cut down day. And after cut down day, it's going to be really bad because it's like, can we just play football, please? Can we just get there? Coached and disciplined. Yep, that's right. That's right, Jason, you pot stoner degenerate. Smash that like button if you like this show. And Leadhead, the Cease Unfiltered Solo Show. Usually better when I'm angry. What's your secret? I'm always angry. People are always like, why do you do that? Why do you do the pray thing all the time? Because I'm trying to stay calm. Light and sweet, baby. Ask Mace. Mace asked me. He asked me a year or so ago. He's like, why do you always say light and sweet, baby? It's like, so I don't lose my mind. Some reminder of like what's really important, and well, maybe losing your mind over work things or football things isn't as worth it. But yes, I appreciate the love from everyone out there. And Brad D saying the AFC has seemingly regressed and Denver is better. Certainly Pittsburgh, I wouldn't put them in the postseason. Okay. And this is more Russell. I don't want to talk about Russell Wilson. And this isn't for you, Brad, because you're one of my dudes, but like, baby, I don't give a flying flip. There's no dump button on YouTube. I could care less about Russell Wilson. I really could. I've said it on the air. I'll say it on these airwaves. Like, I just don't care. Like, oh, I don't have any Schadenfreude. I thought Seattle fans, it was a bad look when they had Schadenfreude when Russ came here and sucked. And Seattle fans like, like, and it's not because I used to be a Steelers fan or whatever people want to say. No, I just don't care. Bo's here. My Bo jersey, which I wore to a fantasy draft today. That's why I didn't text you back, Gage. If you're watching, I haven't seen Gage in the chat room yet. But like, I'm in a fantasy draft, baby. My Bo Nix jersey is right there. Right there. Like, I could give a crap about the old guy. What are we going to talk about? Case Keenum too? And not that Brad, again, is bringing this up, but I'm just like, if you look at the AFC now, there is serious debate on, and it won't happen, okay? So I don't want anyone to at me, bro. It will not happen. But I will say this. There is serious debate on whether Anthony Richardson or Joe Flacco should start with the Colts. And that's a talented team that could be a playoff team. And there's people that doubt their quarterback because Cincinnati was clowning him in the joint practices. They were clowning him. All he does is run. He's a spot thrower. He doesn't know what he's doing. He doesn't read defenses. So again, like fantasy football, you can be dazzling. You could be a great Tim Tebow was a quarterback 1 in fantasy. Anthony Richardson is easily a top 5 fantasy quarterback if he's healthy, which he only played 4 games last year and he was hurt in every single game. But it's like you look at the AFC and you're like, Denver is, again, quiet, young, humble, hungry. And what's the rest of the conference doing, right? Kansas City's still Kansas City. And, I wish I could spell out what I want to about Kansas City. They don't like me. I don't like them. Everyone will be fine. I got broad shoulders. You'll be all right. I'll be all right. It's okay, Kansas City. Hey, you guys got a dynasty. Hey, you've got one of the best quarterbacks to ever play. And Andy Reid, super happy for him, whatever. I just don't like Kansas City. I don't like their fans. They don't like me, whatever. But it's like, all right, Kansas City. I would say Baltimore with King Henry. That's going to look different, right? Buffalo's trying to take the ball out of Josh Allen's hands, meaning they'll use James Cook a little bit more. So that's a little weird. And obviously they don't have Stephon Diggs because he's in Houston. Houston, a team that, like, okay, how can they take that next step? CJ Stroud was the number 31 quarterback when it came to poorly thrown passes. Only Bryce Young was worse in off-target throws. And yes, that is tracked, Pro Football Reference. It's free. Look it up. So it's like, okay, where's Houston taking that step? Steelers are taking a step back. Cincinnati, it's just like, okay, they don't really have a ground game. Chase Brown, like I said, Zach Moss, okay. Does Jamar Chase stay healthy? Does Joe Burrow stay healthy? So there's a lot of questions there that most people are just kind of ignoring right now. Oh, it's the Bengals. They're going to be great. Like, no, that's the way. That's not the speaking English. That's not the way this league is made. This league is made, you better kick ass every time you can kick ass. You're not given anything. You're not coasting to anything. You got to win. You got to perform. And every other team out there is good. They have good talent as well. For the whole Broncos are the worst roster in forever. That's not true. So if Denver's surging as much as they can, again, not Super Bowl, but they're surging, they're going to be a tough out. They're going to be a team nobody wants to face. I'll tell you this, get back to my handy little schedule here. If I'm, Kansas City in week 18, are you going to have the AFC wrapped up by that point? Denver may be fighting for a playoff spot at home in week 18 against the Chiefs, who may be fighting for the number 1 seed. Think about that. They're going to be a tough out. Cincinnati on the road at Cincinnati, week 17. Cincinnati could be fighting for the number 1 seed. They'll be fighting for playoff positioning. They'll be fighting for that division with Baltimore. The Broncos are going to be a tough out. You are not going to want to face the Denver Broncos. And this is much different. Again, I don't want to talk about Hackett. I've already made fun of him. And this is the best way I can put it because corporate won't send me an email. I don't like hey, Cecil, could you come to the office and bring everything in your desk, please? Because we're not supposed to be personal. And I get it, right? I don't think anyone with a microphone. Don't be like those Nebraska turds on, what was it, Cornhub? What was that one show, the Nebraska turds that were like about Deion? And I have my own issues with Deion now because he went after my buddy Arnie Stapleton. What do you mean bolstered? Like, Deion, baby. Like, Arnie's like one of the greatest guys. I don't want to make this a Deion thing, but I don't think people with microphones should necessarily be personal, whether those Nebraska turds were. I think that's the name of the show. I can't remember. I just remember Nebraska turds. Anyway, so when I say this about Nathaniel Hackett, it's, hey, he liked the acolyte. That's as insulting as I'm going to get, and that's a pretty big insult. Anyway, because he's a Star Wars fan like me, or, like I used to be, because Star Wars now kind of sucks. The Broncos don't suck anymore, and that's a good thing. But I look at, again, after the bye week, Indy, which I have as a win, by the way. Indy. Joe Flacco's not your answer. But Anthony Richardson sure is. Shut your mouth might not be the answer. And by the way, when I do that, YouTube will demonetize us when I say shut your mouth. And I extend the shh part. The AI in YouTube that looks at the audio. It's like, you said a cuss word. I didn't say a cuss word, YouTube. Damn you, YouTube overlords. I'm sorry. Don't demonetize this show. Anyway. They're going to be a tough out. And I like that about this team. Young, humble, and hungry. And made good and bad day. Yep. What about Michael Bandy? Yeah, not going to make the team. Maybe the practice squad. F-bomb. Cecil, do it. Stoner, you just want the F-bomb. Remember Cecil? He was really good, and then he dropped that F-bomb and got fired. Thanks, Jason. Anyway. So just looking through the chat room here, and I guess I have to ban this user and delete their comment for their spam. Thanks for spamming our show. Anyway. Yeah, so you're feeling good and you're looking good. What do I know about Seattle? What do you want to know? I know it's a new head coach and Mike McDonald. I know he's a defensive minded coach. I know he's going to throw the kitchen sink at Bo Nix. I think Shawn Payton's going to be ready for that. There's wrinkles from training camp, partly because training camp y'all see, so the Broncos don't show much. Without getting in trouble with them, this whole show, I don't want to get in trouble with Bonneville and corporate making fun of Nathaniel Hackett. I don't want to get in trouble with the Broncos because I have a key to the building. I'm supposed to brag about that, right? Per source. I will say this. There are wrinkles that the Broncos have in place that you haven't seen. And it's not me humble brag. I get to see practice, but like there's things like you've seen the Shawn Payton offense, like sale concepts are back, right? You've seen RPO Bo. So I'm not speaking out of turn, but I will tell you when the gates are closed, there are things that Shawn Payton has in place that nobody has seen. So you like what you saw in the preseason? Wow, Shawn Payton offense. You like what you saw at training camp. Hey, look at that, RPO Bo. I'm getting chills because I know what it is, but I can't tell you. There are plays that I have seen at practice that were not on display that can be quite dangerous, quite effective. So again, we're seeing the very beginning of Bo Nix. What about Bo Nix in 4 weeks? What about Bo Nix in 8 weeks? What about Bo Nix in 15 weeks? What about that game? Look at that. Week 17 at Cincinnati, fighting for the playoffs. Maybe that's a win. Kansas City at home. Maybe Kansas City's got it wrapped up. Maybe they don't. Is that a win? With Shawn Payton and Bo Nix, all things are possible, except for the Super Bowl. Totally not possible. Yeah, a lot of energy. Edward, one of my favorites there. Edward, appreciate you. I appreciate you all. I was at me and Mace were getting tacos because I owed him a taco bet because Shawn Payton actually announced that Bo Nix was starting. And Mace agreed with me. We didn't think it would happen. And then on Wednesday, it was like, damn it, now I owe him tacos. So we were leaving Torchy's. Shout out Torchy's. And as I was going through the door, a guy was like holding the door in Broncos hat. Hey, real big fan. I enjoy what you do. Thank you. None of this happens without your guys' support. Okay. There's a lot of people with these things, with microphones. Not everyone deserves them. Hell, some people probably say I don't. Whatever. I'll be fine. You'll be fine. So when I'm able to share this passion with you, which is clearly football, when I'm able to share this information as much as possible with you through YouTube or on the radio, 104.3 The Fan, then it's an honor when you like it and you tell me you like it. Because again, I've had people tell me they don't like me in person. That one lady at King Soopers, I'll never forget. Most people recognize my voice. They don't know what my face looks like. They might recognize the hair. But this one lady in King Soopers, this was years ago. I'm standing there talking with my family, and we're in line paying for groceries. And this lady's like, hey, wait a second. Are you Cecil Lammey? And I was like, why? Well, yes, I am. And she's like, my husband loves you. He listens to the fan all the time. I'm like, thank you. And she goes, I don't like you, but my husband loves you. I was like, thanks. So again, when you all show up in the chat room or show up in person or at a remote or whatever, whenever I see y'all and just say hi, thank you. It really, really does mean a lot. I say that from the bottom of my heart. And more of the chat room coming in. And yeah, Tyler, did Lavelle Bailey make the team with that pick six? He should. But the thing is, Justin Strnad balled out. And that's the great thing as someone who, and I talk about my hits and I talk about my misses. I don't have any issue when people are like, haha, you like Paxton. Yeah, I had Dak Prescott with the same grade. So, I should have talked to Paxton because then the grade would have dropped. But I don't shy away from that. So when people like poke, like, you like that? Okay, yeah. I like Tariq Woolen over Delaren Turniel. You want me to bring that up all the damn time? I've actually been told not to bring that up anymore. But like, with Justin Strnad, he had the worst combine because he was hurt and he tried to perform through it. And for me personally, just as an evaluator, I probably held that combine against him too much. But then he was hurt as a pro, so I was like, whatever. He'll just be the guy that's hurt all the time. But when he's not hurt and he's developed, not only as a four-phaser on special teams, but he made some really good plays as a linebacker. Big hits, always around the ball. He's always been, on film, he was athletic, and that's why the testing of the combine is like, I know he's hurt, but my God, it was the worst of that position in combine history. But you see with Strnad, and that's where, new information, things change. Justin Strnad is not that guy that he used to be. Don't be that guy. Justin Strnad is now a much better player. The problem is Lavelle Bailey's a pretty damn good player. And it's like, okay, well, I thought Strnad would be the last guy you kept. What does this mean for Jonas Griffith? Right? Cody Barton's making the team. Alex Singleton's making the team, obviously. Lavelle Bailey should, because for the love of God, Keidron Smith and Lavelle Bailey, you want to risk it? Seriously? With those guys? No way. No way. That is for sure. Denver Dave, how about 52? Jonah Ellis, really good football. And what's funny is, I believe, was it Vance Joseph or was it Shawn Payton that said this week, like, he's doing moves. We haven't even taught him yet. Yeah, because he has a register of moves. When I talked to Jonah and I said, you got 6 moves. Because I talked to him on camera and then I talked to him off to the side. This stuff off to the side is way better. If it was up to me personally, the best times I have in the locker room are when I don't have a fun. Hey, Jonah, tell us about how great you are, Jonah. You're the best, Jonah. Tell us about it. Like, I usually go talk about guys off the record. You get better things. So that's what I enjoy on the seasons I've been able to do that. I understand if my job is more like, hey, Jonah Ellis, you're the best. Like, I get that. But what I like personally is when I can just go talk to a guy off the record. And when I've had conversations with Jonah that are not recorded, I've always been like, dude, you got like 6 moves. And he's like, I got 3. I'm like, no, you don't. You got 6. And he knows how to stack them. Most young players coming to this league, like, they got to move, usually speed, sometimes power. Maybe sometimes it's speed and power, but it's a couple. And then they don't know what to do. The first move stunted and they're just like a fish out of water. They just start dancing, right? Like, oh, you got me. Jonah is like rip, swim, spin, fake spin, bull, speed, bend. He might even have a forklift move. Not many people have a forklift move. That was more of a Reggie White thing, so I don't want to be overboard, right? Because the forklift move is just like, you got to be a beast. And I'm telling you, how about 52, Denver Dave? He kicks ass. How about that? Frankie, creeping through the quarterback's just stupid. Hey, I wouldn't do it, but they're going to do it. Or they'll trade Zach Wilson because they featured him, whatever. Again, we're gonna find out pretty soon. On to week 1, C. Chang. Yes, on to week 1. That's where I want to be. That's where I want to be. Oh, Daniel, crazy question. If Virgil and Brandon were as good as we think, could we have drafted someone besides Franklin and Vele? Yep, Jared Wiley. You're going to hate that name as much as I love that name because you guys probably hate Isaiah Pacheco. Again, I was at a fantasy draft today, and when Isaiah Pacheco went in the second round, maybe third round, and people are like, oh, Isaiah Pacheco. And I was like, he was here for a workout, and you had to have Montrell Washington. You know what I mean? So now Vele is Vele. I think Vele, there's some really good things. I think Franklin, there's some good things. You have to control his inconsistency, as you have to manage him and his inconsistency. I'm not sure how you do that. I won't get too much in the weeds on it, but just know this is what needs to happen. Again, I'm not going to get specific, but the team needs to make sure that his consistency is better, because that's his only problem, is that you just don't. Is it a good day? Is he going to be the king of the world, or is he going to be awful? Like, there's not like a middle ground with Troy Franklin. Like, he's outstanding or he's kind of terrible. can you bring can you level that out a little bit? But when you ask me, could they draft someone not named Troy Franklin? The answer is Jared Wiley, and you're going to hate it. Because Jared Wiley looks like the next stud tight end, gets to learn behind Travis Kelce, and the flipping Chiefs got him. That's why I got sick to my stomach during the draft. My radio equipment's right back there. And I was doing the draft here on the third day. The Chiefs got Jared Wiley. Been talking about him the whole spring. And I was like, I need 5 minutes to go throw up because Kansas City just got a baller. So, yeah. Troy Franklin or Jared Wiley could be my next thing that I'm told not to say all the time. Anyway. Appreciate you all. Frank, Blake Watson has to be on the team. Practice squad. DMC, Mims and Franklin don't deserve a roster spot. They're going to get one. So if you don't like it, be ready to not like it some more because they're going to get one. Mims is a Pro Bowler as a returner. Just not real good as a receiver yet. I hope that changes, and he's got time. If Marvin Mims is doing this a year from now, I'm going to be on him. Marvin Mims doing this right now, I don't like it. I'm going to give you the report on it because it's all on this show, and I'll include Andrew Mason. Shout out Mace. Seek the truth and speak the truth. I'm never just going to be like, everything's great. No, it's not great with Marvin Mims, but give him a year. If it's not great next year, you better bet we're going to be telling you about it. And that's the patience that is required when you evaluate players. And you take him in the second round, you're going to give him every opportunity to succeed. And then if he doesn't, then you're going to move on. That's what this league is about. That's what this is about. Alex, Frank Crumb's going to be released. Yep. And perhaps on the practice squad. I hope on the practice squad. He's certainly athletic enough. He's raw as all get out, but you want to keep that around. Yeah, Crumb's responsible. Yep. Bailey hasn't shown in games. Again, with Bailey, he doesn't need to yet. But I feel, based on his one-handed catch in practice, again, just practice, but that clip went viral. If they cut him, other team's going to be like, hey, remember that viral clip? Let's go get that guy. And that does happen. So hopefully it doesn't, if they try to sneak him through because of this roster crunch. And I'm sorry I have to take a drink, but when you do a solo show, I don't have any commercials. I've been talking for an hour and 7 minutes straight. What about center? Yeah. Wattenberg, the starter. And then I think Alex Forsythe is your swing guard. So there you go. Some players going to the UFL. Yep. Tillman came from there. And he was a damn good player for Birmingham Stallions. And here we go into the season. That's right, Justin. I love it. Certainly appreciate that. Sorry, just scanning through the comments. ILB is keeping 3 or 4. I'd keep 4. But again, there's not room for everybody. That's the problem. There's not room for all these players. So that's the problem. And this wouldn't be a problem if they didn't have talent. They do have talent. It's just unknown talent. So, free Smoking Gun Comics giveaways after Broncos victories. That would be a promo. Okay, I'll think about it. Anyway, Mims doesn't know the offense well enough. I would say it's more his route running rather than knowledge of the offense. You could be totally right, Brad, but I'm just going to kind of guess that it's more just he's not running routes. He's not uncovering. He's not getting leverage. And you have to have leverage to win in this league. That's for sure. Boy, am I behind on the comments. Holy cow. Cecil on the radio. Thank you. I appreciate that, DMC. Yeah, Todd. Perfect. National media always disrespects Randy Gradishar or the Denver Nuggets. Yep. And then this is perfect. This might be the best way to wrap up today's show. This is a perfect comment from David. So, David, appreciate you. You know you're turning a corner when it's getting hard to make cuts. For how many years did we just be like, I know I can tell you the 53 in July. On July 30th, I could tell you the 53. I can't tell you the 53, and we're 2 days away from knowing it. So I think, David, you get the comment of the day. And while I do have Smoking Gun Comics swag. I haven't got the clearance from corporate to give it away. The highest form of respect on this show that we can do for you is simply this. That's right. David, comment of the day. So we appreciate you. Why do I say we want to do a solo show? Either way, thanks very much. Check out all of our social channels. Check out denversports.com. Sign up for that free Denver Sports Daily. It's our free daily newsletter, hot and fresh to your inbox every single morning. Buffs, Broncos, Rockies, Avs, and Nuggets. It's Denver Sports Daily. It's free. It's available at denversports.com. Listen to 104.3 The Fan. More big news coming. And we certainly appreciate you for that. And here on our YouTube channel, like this show, comment down below. You've commented in the chat room. Thanks. Now comment down below, please. It helps the algorithm, and it tells YouTube that, hey, people like this channel. People like this show. So that's how you help us out. No silly super chats. Hey, pay me to put this up on the screen. No. Nothing like that. No silly super chats. The only thing that we ask you is that you like, comment, share, subscribe, hit the notification bell so that you never miss a vid. Be safe, be kind, know that you're appreciated. Stay tuned. And as always, would you please stay frosty,